Questions with God is designed to start a conversation. I've traveled the world for over a decade looking for answers to questions about God and my own faith, and as much as I've discovered, I've also realized that life is infinitely more complicated than I was ever taught in Sunday school. So I wanted to create a safe place with some of the most amazing people I've filmed over the years, where we can get together and dive in on some of the bigger, stickier questions faith has to offer. To that end, I want to show you a little of what it's like. In this first clip, we're talking about fear, and more specifically, how to overcome it. You'll hear from Majid El-Shafi, who I filmed for Father of Lights, as he talks to us about what it's like to get tortured for your faith and how he overcame fears most of us will never understand. Okay, so in this episode, we're looking at the question, how do you overcome fear? And I think for a lot of people, this is a pretty big deal, right? There's a lot of people that I think we all know who really struggle with this. And, you know, there's lots of different types of fear. There's fear of the dark, there's fear of man, there's fear of God, there's all kinds of things that people can be afraid of. Fear of the unknown, fear of looking stupid. So we're going to we obviously can't hit the whole thing today, but I just want to kind of start the discussion. And so first thing I want to do is kind of introduce our illustrious guest here, Majid El-Shafi, who is a good friend and is just an amazing, amazing guy. And so I'm just going to we're going to start with you, buddy, and if you could just kind of, explain kind of who you are. I know basically you have a ministry, an organization, probably not a ministry. You have an organization that gets persecuted Christians kind of out into safety and bringing awareness to persecution all over the world, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so now your story started out though, so you're an Egyptian, and you come from a big deal family, right?
Yes.
So just kind of tell us really briefly your story, in particular, kind of finish it off with, I know that you were tortured for your faith, and I know that there was a lot of, obviously, fear involved there. So, but I wanted to kind of just get the story out, kind of the short version, and then we'll kind of jump off from there.
So, my name is Majid El-Shafi. I was born on February 17, 1977, which means that I'm still young and handsome. Thank you very much. That's for the people who's watching, they need to know that.
You can't say that when I'm drinking. Like, I'm literally...
Most of my family worked in the legal career. What I mean by that, the uncle is judge in the Egyptian Supreme Court. My father was a lawyer. My brother was a lawyer.
Wow.
So we are a family that grew up in the law. Mm. When I was 9 years old, I remember that I have a big, huge library in my bedroom full of books about human rights, freedom, and justice. My dream since I was 9 years old is to be a lawyer. I never wanted to be a Batman or Superman, I wanted to be always a lawyer, which I become when I grow up. Defender of the law, as we call them. At the age of 18, I start to see evidence that persecution happening to the Christians in Egypt. And many people that watching this show right now doesn't know that you cannot build churches in Egypt. You can build bar, discotheque, but not a church. Many people doesn't know that Christmas to us, Christmas and Easter, is nothing but attack seasons. With us here, Christmas is about Santa Claus and gifts under trees. For there, Christmas is an attack. Your church will get attacked. Easter, your church will get attacked and people will die. And yet, the people will still go to the church. Nothing will stop them. When as a Muslim young man, the persecution that's happening to the Christians in Egypt make me wonder why. Because here is what I believe. You do not persecute somebody unless you are scared from the truth that they carry. The more that I went to my best friend, Tamer. Tamer was a Christian, I was a Muslim. And I asked why there is persecution happening to your community. And he said, Majid, I'm afraid that my answer will affect our friendship together. But I will give you a book. In this book, you found answers for every question that you have. This book wasn't about judgment and right and wrong and laws. It was about forgiveness and sacrifice. We call it Holy Bible. And first time I opened the Holy Bible was John 8, when they brought a lady commit adultery, threw her in front of the Lord and told him, judge her according to the law of Moses. And the Lord started to write down in the sand by his finger. So he repeated the question again. He told them, who without sin cast her the first stone? Now think about it, the only one who can really cast the first stone is Christ himself, because he's the only one who has no sin. But he didn't. He looked back to this lady and told her, go sin no more. This was my first time I met Christ. Very long story short, because at the time of the program, I came to the Lord in the age of 18. I started underground organization, grew up from 7 people to 24,000 in
Wow.
2 years. We built churches inside caves, inside mountains, and we started to ask the Egyptian government to give us equal rights as Christians, like the Muslims. Remember what the Bible said. Faith without action is a dead faith. Prayer is good, but prayers with action is better. In August 15, 1998, 1:30 in the morning, I hear knock on my door. I opened the door. I was arrested, 5 soldiers, 2 officers. They took me to a police station. It's called the Zogli police station behind the Egyptian parliament, downtown Cairo. And they told me, we know everything about you. We know that you're the head of the organization. We know everything, about the book that you wrote, everything, but we don't know who is working with you. Who is the rest of the names of your friends? I told them, I don't know which friends and which book, and if you know everything about me, why are you asking me? They told me, listen, you want to play tough, we can play tough together. I told them, tough is my middle name, good luck with that. Next day, they transferred me to a prison. It's called Abu Zabal prison. Now, for the people who's watching us right now, I would tell you something that you will not hear in your CNN or your BBC, whatever media that you're watching. 25% from the space of this prison is underground, is like graves. That's where they torture the believers. The officer that they are torturing you, they are wearing masks. You cannot see their faces, and they always call each other by numbers, not by names. And every day, higher, different level of torture. So if you didn't speak, they take you to a higher level of torture. I survived 7 days. For me, it was 700 years. Shaving the hair of my head, putting my head in cold and hot water, hang me upside down, burning me with cigarettes. I can't take off my jacket in front of anybody because of the scars that I have. For the people who's listening to us, and once again, because of the time, I just want to share with you something that I don't share a lot. The 3rd day, they brought the dogs to attack me. And as they released the dogs, the dog didn't attack me. The 3 dogs didn't attack me. So the officer said, maybe something wrong with the 3 dogs. Get me another set of 3 dogs. And they released the 2nd set of 3 dogs. Didn't attack me. The middle dog took a step forward and he licked my face. If you think that this is only can happen in the Bible, He's the same God of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. If it's happened before, this will happen again. After that, they took me to they crucified me for 2 days and a half. They made a cut in the back of my left shoulder to the bones, and they put lemon and salt in the open wound. And after that, I ended in the hospital for 3 months, and I was house arrested. And after that, I received the death penalty. That's when I escaped from Egypt. I stole a jet ski, and I crossed the Egyptian border to the Israeli border. And I came to Canada 15 years ago, and that's when I started my organization to help others that used to be in the same place like myself.
Yeah. So talk to me, I mean, first of all, it's an honor to sit at this table with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
But, we're talking about fear. And it's funny, we hear a story like this, and all of a sudden, whatever we're, afraid of is okay, it's silly. But, take me into, because I remember you telling me this story once, and in particular, it was the dogs that were most frightening for you.
That's correct.
Right? Because I think you even told the Lord the night before, just take me tonight, because I'm going to break.
That's correct.
Right? Talk to me about, what does fear, and I'd love to hear from you, but I'd love to hear from the rest of you too, because I know everybody's battled this. What does fear feel like? How would you describe it, especially in that circumstance?
I am not willing to describe what fears look like, but I am willing to describe what courage look like. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the presence of fear, yet the will to go on. So if you think that fear cannot be part of you because you are a believer, you're a little bit silly. Fear is a normal human reaction. Every time on the front line, I just came back from Syria, I was on the front line. And I get shot at 7 times in the last 5 years. And that's why I'm a man without a family, as we're talking right now. But the truth and the reality, that is not the fear that will stop us.
Well, there you go. He's an amazing guy with an amazing story. Now I want to hear from you. In the comment section below, tell me how you overcome fear when it hits you. What scriptures do you stand on? Maybe it's not fear for yourself, but for your child or for your loved one. And if you haven't conquered it, let us know. We'll pray for you. Now tomorrow, I'll have another free clip for you to watch, so keep an eye on your email. And in a few days, I've got a special bonus offer that you may dig as well. So I'll see you tomorrow.